Hey everybody, we're back. Number 48. We're getting close to the big 5-0, so we'll be looking for that one. But welcome back, Al. We had a great conversation, I think, in 47. But before we go back to that, which I think we will come back, I wanted to ask you about your 81st birthday. What was that like? What was that?
Oh man, that was a blast.
Let me hear some of the.
We went down to Sequan. I had a room. Me and Terry shared the room. Michael had the other room.
Okay.
So my daughter flew in.
Oh, nice.
Everybody was there. And all the people that I invited, the ones that showed up, and some of them didn't show up, that was okay. But the main reason I wanted to get everybody to know each other, because when I talk about folks, but kids say, "Who is that?" So it was great.
They got to connect with some of the family and people that are part of your life. See, that's a great thing. I mean, you're leaving them your story. You're leaving them your legacy. It's something that I know they'll cherish.
That's I got a whole bunch of folks that only call when they want money, and they won't go out of their way to do anything for nobody. Everybody wants something for them, so hey, it's cool. It was good. You girls, I was just wanting to make you girls happy.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Then on the way back, we stopped by Richard Despar's house. He's the guy. His uncle was in the Olympics in the military Olympic thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's because you said Richard, and I wasn't sure who it was.
Yeah.
So he was the one that was instrumental in that interview.
So we on the way back, we stopped by his house, had a cup of coffee, and came on up.
Who brought you down there, Terry?
Terry drove me down. Yeah, me and Michael. And it was nice. It was really nice. So I mean, that was probably one of the best birthday parties I ever had.
I'm glad to hear that. It was great. Because I can't get over. I told you. I remember your 80th year, and it was like even Elijah and I were talking, and I was like, yes. It seemed like that was yesterday, and it was a year went by.
Yeah.
So miraculous things happen, right?
I'm just thankful I'm here. Just trying to do the best I can. Stay in my lane.
You cause no pain.
There you go.
Well, so where do you want to go with what our conversation was? I don't want to know if we're kind of beating a dead horse, or is things happening so fast, or
think about this. It was the last weekend they had all the protests. What did you see different in those protests than other protests?
Well, you told me when you called me, you told me that there weren't any black people in the crowd.
No black people, so they didn't have no scapegoats.
Well, I mean, I think too, a big part of it was there were a variety of groups, aggrieved groups, that are now seeing a commonness to come together. And like you said, it's amazing. It's only been a couple of months, but the impact, change.
Well, he's destroyed everything that was done in 4 years. Okay, because in his mind, he got the narrative in that Biden didn't do this and Biden did a whole hell of a lot of good stuff.
No question.
Okay, but Biden's personality was not like his. Okay. Biden was presidential.
Right.
Okay, and he went in and did things for the people. Right.
And again, I'm taken back by people that have disparaging things to say about him, about Biden. Obviously he wasn't perfect, but he's a career politician, and he's this, that, and the other. But you're right, he's a statesman, and he took us out of the abyss of the pandemic.
He put us back in the world, back in the world, respectful. Okay, in 2 months, this man has taken us. We're no longer nobody's friend or anything.
No.
And people said,
we're a pariah now.
we can't trust you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know. Every day there's something, and we shall have to see where it goes. But tell me about the tournaments, the women's and the men's NCAA. So what was your take on that? Because I have something. Brad brought something, but I'll bring that up after you tell me your key thoughts.
Well, Connecticut, the women's did what I thought they would do.
UConn, yeah.
And it was a toss-up for Houston, but I was leaning toward Florida because I got the kid that plays for Clayton Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He's tough, and he came through.
What happened to Duke? You got nipped at the
he got nipped at the end.
And then was that a
well, Houston.
I didn't see that game. I only read about it.
Well, Houston was pressured. See, Duke was not. It was freewheeling.
Okay.
And so
they couldn't keep up with them then.
They couldn't keep up with the pressure.
Yeah. So was that coaching? Coaching that made a difference there?
Well,
or just style?
Style.
Okay. All right. So Brad shared with me something on our cruise, and we were having a drink, and he loves it. He loves it. And I remember back in the day when I was at Pinos, and he was a 12, 13-year-old kid, and we did in the brackets. He won it like 3 years in a row because he was this kid that could read the paper all day, and he absorbed it. So he's been following it, and he goes every year to Vegas with his buddies on the first weekend. Anyway, he's really into it. So he shared something with me that I hadn't really even thought. I mean, I kind of knew about it on the proof. So he said, what you noticed is that the Final Four is all ones. It's all the ones. Mm-hmm. And he goes, you won't see any more the upsets like you used to see because of the portal. These players go, they get paid. You can't. These smaller schools, and you see, that's what I loved about the tournament. Is you sometimes it wasn't very seldom was a 16 going to knock off a 1, but a 12 or 13 could knock off a 3 or 4 and follow through the tournament, and that's gone. Do you agree with that? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, everybody, as soon as the game's over, the guys are going to the portal.
Right.
No one, but you don't understand. You gotta be careful where you go. You got to go to the right spot.
And how do you make that decision?
Well, it depends on who you are and who's around you. Because everybody will tell you you're great when you're not.
You need someone to tell you the truth, huh? The search for truth.
Well, you need to know your truth. And you need to know what your truth is.
Right. See, there's something to our podcast, right? Search for truth. But yeah, I hear you. And I'm not a big follower of it. I understand what a portal is and how it works, so to speak. Very, very rudimentary, but it
you kind of got the girl from Princeton. She's 24 years old, and she's a point guard, and she made a difference.
Oh, really? Not the other gal.
She made everything cohesive.
She brought them together, and that was due to the portal and the opportunity for her to go there, and they got them a national championship. Yeah. Which is what the name of the game is, I guess.
That's what it is. A natty. Everybody wants to get a natty.
Well, where does it go from here? Does it continue down that path? Or will there be some kind of change? Will there be some kind of rule change? Will there be anything?
And they ain't gonna change, man, because it's money. Once money gets involved, right?
Don't you remember? I'm sure I know you do because you're much more of a sports aficionado than I am. But back in the day, players stayed with a lot of them stayed with the same team for the majority of their career, and then maybe at the end of their career, they were going to be let go or whatever it is, so they find. But you don't see that anymore. No. You don't see players in any sport, for that matter, stay in a national championship or a World Series championship or Super Bowl or whatever, NBA championship. Doesn't sometimes carry as much weight as it does the almighty dollar, right?
No, and everybody wants to be important. And everybody wants to be a star. Right. And the coaches that can keep a team together are the good coaches.
And who are some of those coaches? We've talked before about coaches.
Duke, Houston, the teams that were in the Final Four.
Now, those coaches, are they in position to move to somewhere else to get a better deal?
No, they're in their spots.
And they're not going anywhere.
No.
So they're just going to be there as long as they can and win as much as they can.
Think about the guy at Gonzaga. He's been there.
Yeah.
And he's and the portal has hurt Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Okay, because Gonzaga's always was tough. But see now they're playing against guys that are tougher now. That more people.
Well, Gonzaga was always there in the thick of it. They never really won a national championship, did they?
No.
But they got close, many times close.
Yeah.
But they never could get the brass ring. But there, even that's going to be something that will fade away. That kind of.
Well, they're one of the better teams on the West Coast. Okay. And,
they still draw some of the best
players.
Yeah.
They don't want to go there because they get the cup.
Mm-hmm.
And St. Mary's.
Well, I remember a conversation we had. Boy, that was a long time ago, but it was about before the portal, obviously. But teams were, Alabama comes to mind, and they were stacked, and then some of them were leaving early. They were leaving to go to the draft, and I was asking you what your thoughts were on that, and I think you said, well, you can't afford to pass up the money. You go as a sophomore or whatever to join it.
You got to remember, they're taking care of families.
Yeah, and you can't lose sight of that.
Okay, but sometimes
because a blown out knee and you're done. You're selling cars.
It goes back to what do you think you're worth? You have to make a self assessment. And those guys that try to go early, how many of those guys make it even get onto a team?
Not too many, huh? Can you think of any? Now I see even today. Players.
The kid Banchero from Duke, and the guy that went to Gonzaga, but he keeps getting hurt. He goes a one and done. Yeah. But the guys don't understand. They play to go one and done instead of going there to get an education.
Right, and that's what I think was part of our conversation.
Yeah.
And again, this was 30 years ago. Kind of when we were first together, and we would have those times. We would have conversations about that, and someone that valued education like you, but also being a person with many years of experience, many years of playing sports, your own experience with being drafted and deciding that you wanted your education and they didn't want to go forth for it, so you passed on it and those kinds of things. And so your input is invaluable because you have that experience, that firsthand experience with it. So
this was a Chinese proverb. You go fishing, catch a fish, but if you teach a man how to fish, he'll feed himself for a lifetime.
I know, but how do you translate that to a young person?
Well, you got these club teams. Yeah, and they're just some of them are okay, but they it costs them parents $5,000 for $500.
Oh yeah, because I'm looking
$500 to $1,000 a month.
Exactly. Because I'm looking at my one granddaughter who's a decent soccer player there for a number of years, and we were toying with the idea that maybe she should try to look for a travel team, a club team, whatever. But one, the cost was prohibitive. Mm-hmm. Two, the commitment. You're going to give up everything else.
You got to be. My niece was driving all the way from down in South County all the way to Riverside for a team.
For soccer?
No, baseball, soccer.
Oh, softball. Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what the sport is; it's all the same, right? As far as
I remember in when the travel ball. I remember I was coaching Little League in Yorba Linda.
Is that when it started coming up?
Yeah, it started coming up. The guy from Placentia And what happened was these super coaches didn't coach. They were doing their thing, but not doing the thing for the kid. So this guy took the team from Placentia and he started travel ball.
Who's that? Baseball.
Yeah, travel ball, the little league style.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, a lot of guys in high school play travel balls in high school ball.
I know that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that isn't necessarily. You don't see that in football. Is there a reason for that?
Well, where you gonna have travel football?
Yeah.
What you gonna do with travel football? Okay.
But I mean, you see it in basketball.
You see it in
You see it in
basketball.
softball. You see it in soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So you do see that.
Okay,
you know.
but see what happens when those guys get off the travel ball and get into real basketball. Okay.
There's where the cream only rises.
It's tough.
Yeah.
You don't hear about them too much.
No, they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm old school and I'm naive, but I think that teaching them the greater aspect of the game.
It's more the parents than it is the kids. Okay. A lot of parents, they. Think about this. My dad was an Olympic gold medal winner, and he taught. He put no pressure on me for sports.
Right.
I'm thankful for that. And I didn't put any pressure on my children for sports. If they wanted to be involved.
Yeah, because between you and Brenda, your girls had the genetics.
Oh yeah.
But there was something more important out there.
But that was not what they wanted.
But they all got
they wanted to do club, not club, but rec softball, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And you were fine with it.
I was fine with that. Hell yeah.
But not a lot of parents would be.
Well, because the most important thing was for my children to be happy.
I know.
So the only
I don't
one.
think every parent thinks that way though.
The one that was that if she wanted to go to the batting cage, I took her to the batting cage. Okay.
They have to ask you.
Yes.
You didn't say, "Come on, we're going to the batting cage."
They had to ask
hey,
me.
Dad, can you take me to the batting cage? That's a different way, right?
Because if you start imposing your will on the kid because you want them to do whatever it is you want to do,
they're living your dream and not their own.
Yeah. You have to live your own dream.
Right on.
And you have,
so wise.
Yeah.
So wise. And again, you look at your girls or your young ladies or your young women, and they're doing so well, and they have an education, they travel, they see the world, they're experiencing, they're embracing the whole world as it is.
But also, they got a chance to see how the system works against black folks.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
You didn't shelter them.
No, I went in one time to talk to I said, I coach kids. She's a senior. You're gonna cut her from the team, and she played 2 years of JVs.
Yeah.
And you're gonna cut her from the team.
You talked to the coach about that.
Well, they had so funny. They had the superstar little black kid who was a freshman, but her parents were politicking and all that kind of stuff. She only stayed there 1 year, and then she went down to South County. Okay.
They're to talk about loyalty, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Because everybody's looking at scholarship for the kids. Okay, that was not the most. My kids. I'm paying.
Is that what they're? Is it really the scholarship?
Yeah. I watch softball every day. I watch these kids come from all over the place to get a scholarship. Okay, and they got to be the best of the best. Okay, Oklahoma's number one, Texas, and Florida State. Okay, but Northwestern, I like them. Duke.
What makes those programs stick out to you that you like them?
I like Duke because they're scrappy. I like Northwestern because they're scrappy. They don't have the best girls, but they got girls playing as a team.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
And to me, that's what translates to the bigger.
Well, see, people don't understand. And we both played football. What was it about football that was important? Camaraderie.
Yeah.
Everybody was working together for a common goal. Mm-hmm. Okay? Win a football game.
And that's life, because you go into the business world.
There you go.
Working as a team, give and take, compromise,
Why
sacrifice.
did we last so long as friends for while we were working together? What was it about that made us have a friendship? Okay, we talked. Okay, and you could have went your way, and I went my way. We talked together, but what was it about teaching together that they gave us a 30, 34, 35-year relationship?
I always say I think it was our philosophy and our understanding and our commitment and our respect for our students and our desire for them to be successful.
No, I'm not talking about the students. I'm talking about me.
Well, I know, but I mean, it's our approach. It was our approach to teaching, and I think we saw that commonality. I guess I don't know. You tell me.
What was it about me that you invited me to your house?
Well, like I said, there was this respect, and again, I've always said this in our podcast is that you taught me so much. You opened my eyes up. You gave me an experience that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Being listening to you, being mentored by you, and I'm a better person for it. To me, that's what's the most important thing in my life. Is
I remember the Thanksgivings I went out there. You see, like I was telling Lourdes, she'll be laughing, and she's been taking me all around and stuff. And like I said, Lourdes, everywhere we go, I'm going to be the only black person there. Okay, and she watch them how they treat me.
What was that like for you to come to our house and be the only?
That was great. It was great.
You were okay with that?
Yeah.
You never felt uncomfortable? You never felt people dissed you? Or?
No, why diss me? I got a chance to eat turkey and dressing.
So I got to tell you a funny story this morning. I took the kids to school. My little Lily. I love my little Lily. She's crazy. So she says, what are you doing today? And I said, well, I'm going to go visit my friend Al. She goes, yeah. She goes, my mom went to get her car serviced or something, and there was a man there that looked just like Al, and his name was Al. I go, well, I don't think it was my Al, but yeah, okay. Yeah, so she made a connection there. But they've watched the podcast. They know who you are. And anyway, I just thought that was a funny observation.
That was when I was going through the divorce and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that was nice.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, there wasn't any like so-called motive or
no, it was an invitation to eat free meal. Free meal, shit. I ain't gonna turn down no free meal. Shit. Okay, I mean, shit.
Right.
I mean, but it's the fact that you invited me, which was important.
Well, it's a small gesture that you didn't really think anything about it, but obviously it needs an impact on your area.
Yeah. Well, it made our ability to have experiences stronger, so we could work with our children over the kids. And the kids saw that we were in tune. They felt the environment was much calmer.
Do you think there was any recognition that you were black and I was white, and that there was a partnership there? Do you think that?
No, you was just Mr. Conrad. I was Mr.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw it differently than me.
No,
I never thought about that.
No,
I never thought, oh wow.
I knew you didn't like discipline.
I know you told me something the other day.
But that was okay.
I didn't have what it takes to walk through. Not you didn't say that.
But think about this. The way we ran our program, discipline was not the forefront. Because by us doing what we did, the kids had no reason to not behave and not do the right thing.
Did you ever feel like I'll just use it this way? It wasn't fair that you had to do the heavy and I got to do the light?
We're both educators. And
Different approach, no?
We both use our strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Whatever your strength was, it was well warranted.
I appreciate that.
You had the ability to talk to kids. You got things done in your way, which was okay. I got things done in my way, which was okay.
So you never felt like it was one-sided?
I don't know. Not to me. I mean, we cooked breakfast in the morning. We had our coffee. And we had our routine. And you taught the math, and I taught the English and whatever English I could teach you, whatever history, science. I ran the program. I did the report cards. Okay, and we all sent, we all sent kids up to college, and we were in sync. Okay, and the one thing that the kids knew that they couldn't fool any one of us. Okay, maybe you didn't say a whole lot, but you wasn't going for the opium. Okay, that was the important thing. Because if you went for the okie then we would.
You would have kept me around.
I would have kept you around.
Kicked me to the curb.
I would have kept you, because think about what we did. We went to, the Sandy Island, the park. We went to the Garden Grove Library, we went to Westminster, and all the places we went to service kids. Okay, and I mean that was important. Well, and you was on board with that.
Well, certainly our it started off as our professional relationship, but it blossomed into a friendship and a mutual respect, and an understanding. We didn't always see eye to eye. We had our disagreements, but what I always appreciate.
What disagreements did we have? Tell me.
I don't know if I can think of a specific one, but I know if I was straying.
Like I told you, you don't need to go into administration. You remember that?
Well, that does come up.
Yeah, I said, Larry, you don't need to, because I knew what kind of personality you were, and I knew what kind of fools were up there. Yeah, Mike and all those guys up there, and that's what they went to work for.
Yeah.
Okay, to do little or nothing and complain all day.
See, and I think I was naive in thinking that everybody had everybody else's best interest, and that's just not the case.
No, you learned the hard way, didn't you?
I learned the very hard way. Okay. I mean, extremely hard way. I mean, it cost me a lot, and I can't blame. I'm not blaming them. I'm really. It's my own. It was my own doing, and I have no. I'm
gonna ask you a question. After you got through there, did you hear my voice in your ear?
Oh, always.
Okay, and you said, now I know why Al told me not to go to administration.
Well, you still reminded me, but yeah, but I did. But no,
that's why I did what I did to get you back to where you needed to go.
And I did. I finished up. I have to admit, I finished up where I belonged.
Yeah,
doing what I belonged doing.
And that's why I always kept a spot.
Yeah.
That's why I always kept a spot.
I appreciate that. I know that you looked out for me a lot more than I recognize or that I realized, and it's greatly appreciated. But anyway, we're going to wrap this 48 up. We're going to do another one, and then we're going to save 50 for our what is that? Is 50 golden? Is that golden now? Elijah? Golden? Yeah, come on, Elijah.
Yeah, but no. But I think just in closing, the thing that is important about relationships, and everything is a give and take, and everybody has to be able to compromise and get along with each other that way, because you can't be a bully in terms of getting along with people. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the times that Brad invited me over Super Bowls and things like that. And
we had some fun at his old apartment.
Yeah. Those things were good. I mean, I really appreciated that.
That's nice to hear.
Just bring ribs and spaghetti or whatever.
Barbecue on the back of the truck. Put some ribs out there. And
oh man,
Brad was a crazy dude back then. Yeah. But, he's settling them down really nicely. But anyway, I will close with the fact that we started off professionally, and how many people the hundreds of people that you worked with, the hundreds of people that I worked with. How many of those people do we still see? Do we still associate with?
I don't care to see them.
Right.
I don't care because they don't stand for what I stand for.
Right. Even to this day at 81.
At 81. They don't
You're
stand
not
for it.
compromising now, right?
No. I mean, they were shysters back then, and they still shysters. What's the name? Vern?
Yeah.
You heard what happened?
No, I haven't heard.
He's
You
back
want to save that one?
He's back in the classroom.
Let's end there and let's talk about that because that's
Okay.
some interesting things.
Okay.
So we're going to sign out and we're going to finish up 48 and we're going to jump into 49 here in a minute. And anyway, it was a pleasure again. I think we've had some good conversation.
Good conversation, yeah.
Some good conversations. So thank you, Elijah. Don't forget to sign up. Give us a like, a dislike, give us a comment, whatever it is, and we appreciate everybody. So peace out.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you that are out there listening, subscribe to our page so that you can get the notifications of when we're going to record again.